I don't know. Again,
Look at that. And we are live once again on Friday Fun Day. I always enjoy that intro too, by the way, regardless of the other bells and whistles that magically appear at times.
I'm glad you can see it because I can't see it. I don't know.
Well, I can see it.
I don't know when we actually come on. It's weird, but yeah. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to, as you say, Friday Fun Day. It's gonna be a good day, Taylor.
Can I just note for the record before we get to today's topic too that I am sick to death of the friggin' cloudy, like it looks like it's twilight. And
what are you talking about, man? This is the vacation capital of the United States right here.
Did you know that St. Louis, this is just an aside, sorry. Did you know that St. Louis is the number 4 destination searched on Google Flights for summer travel in 2025? Did you know that?
That's pretty crazy considering we don't even have a hub here. We don't have a hub for airlines at all.
Well, right. And what are you coming to see in St. Louis? I mean, I know there's a few landmarks. Obviously, there are. So, like, I'm not trying to diss St. Louis, but we live outside of St. Louis. It's not, but I'm just saying compared to, like Miami or something like that
that is pretty wild
summer travel. I don't know. It was just weird and odd. Sorry, well, just aside. I just so
Southern Missouri, I don't know. I could see we meet a lot of people from out of state down there. I hunt down there, and I run into people from Arkansas that actually buy out of state tags to hunt. I mean, that's crazy expensive, but they come up here to hunt. But anyway, who knows?
They're going to Lake of the Ozarks and
could be, yeah,
and stuff like that too. Because well, I prefer Branson and Table Rock Lake to Lake of the Ozarks, but that's just me.
Yeah, you couldn't give me. I don't think you could give me. I don't think you could give me land or a house at Lake of the Ozarks. I don't think you could do it. I'm not a fan.
You could probably give it to me, but I was like, yeah, it's interesting. And I just have to say too, before we jump into today's episode, we were going to have a guest speaker today. Apologies, there was scheduling conflicts. We could not make that work for today. We are working on getting that scheduled in the future, so bear with us in there. So with all that said, Mr. Kaufman, what do we have on the agenda as our topic for today?
Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a touchy subject because there's a lot of other people out there, a lot of coaches and gurus that do not agree with this concept. I will just tell you that right off the bat.
Yeah.
In fact, they don't even have to be a coach or guru. There's just a lot of other real estate investors out there that just don't agree with this concept. That concept being getting a property under contract before you actually do a deep dive into the due diligence and even really understanding all of the intricacies, I guess, of a seller situation. We're going to explain why this is probably the most important thing that you can do for your business.
In our opinion, this is
this is practicing. This is something that, if I'm dealing directly with a seller, this is something that I will do on a regular basis because it is. I think it's that important. And really, to kind of summarize what we're going to talk about just getting the property under contract at all costs versus going out and doing all the analyzing the thing to death and and certainly before starting all of your due diligence. Very controversial. A lot of people don't like it. I understand that. But I'm, from my point of view and my perspective and what I actually do in my business, it works very, very well. So where would you like to start?
So let's just take, if we could, before we get into like the topics for today that we'll cover too, let's just take a step back and remember. So what we're really referencing here is there was a few, I don't remember what episode number it is off the top of my head, but a few episodes again, we actually talked about our real estate investing blueprint, right? And we mentioned at that time that we do things in a little different order. So get the property under contract is actually 3 in our, I'm looking at, so you see me looking over to the side. It's actually hanging up right there in my office. It's actually number 3 before you evaluate the deal. So that's what we're going to talk about there specifically. That piece of our blueprint is
Right.
getting it under contract today. So
Let me. I'm going to pop this up on the screen here if anybody wants to go check that out. There it is, the Ultimate Creative REI Blueprint. This was an entire weekend. I think it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
yeah, it was a weekend. I guess workshop, boot camp, whatever.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
about our blueprint, right? Just
Yeah.
about the blueprint.
It's very, very detailed, extremely detailed. So if you want to take a quick snapshot of that QR code and head over to Sub2 Empire and check it out, you can do that now. Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and hide it because it's almost covering up your pretty face, man.
Well, it's not like I can just lean. And then I'm in like 720p HD here. Look at the clarity. Look at that. That's
you're
beautiful stuff right there. Holy crap.
All right. So let's talk about this. Let's dive into this a little bit. I am going to, there's something that I do truly believe. And I think you do too. And it's something that we not just push, but we kind of enforce in our coaching program. And that is that getting a property on a contract is ultimately, if you don't have a contract, if you don't have contracts, you simply cannot do business. It's really that basic. It's that simple. You can do all the marketing in the world that you want to do. You can go talk to as many sellers as you want, but if you don't have a contract, then all of that means precisely nothing. It means zero. It means you have a hobby. And contracts in our business, I like to say, are our inventory. And the example that I always like to use is, you always hear me say that a hot dog stand has hot dogs. That's their inventory. A pet store they have food. They have hopefully not selling pets anymore. I don't know, but they have their inventory. For us in real estate, our inventory is contracts. Those contracts then turn into assets, but our inventory is our contracts. So what that ultimately means to you, the investor, is that if you have a contract, you have control of that deal. If you don't have that contract, there's a really great potential that someone else is going to have that deal because they control that deal. So,
and why? So just take a step back. So why do we put getting it under contract first? Right? You said we want to control the deal, but why is that important? Why is getting control of the deal so quickly important?
Well, I mean, I don't really know how to answer that other than to just say, without control, you simply can't, you can't turn that into, you can't actually turn that into an asset. You can't monetize any part of that deal without that piece of paper. So you are not going to earn a living without that piece of paper. That's all there is to it. Or you're not, it might not be how you earn your primary living, but you're not going to make any money on that deal without a contract. It's very, very hard. Some people have done it. I've seen some wholesalers do it where they, they're out, maybe potentially they bring a buyer to the deal. But even they have paper. They have some sort of agreement with another wholesaler, potentially. Actually, I've seen some of those that don't either, right? But but yeah, maybe you have a little more eloquent way of stating that.
No,
that is,
well, I was going to that too, but I was just trying to keep it more simple. Like the reason, one of the main reasons we want to put the contracts on earlier, like we do things a little bit in a different order, is because money loves speed, right? I mean, obviously you want to control the asset. So you need to control the asset before anybody else, right? So
right.
You can beat your competition to that and do it and be the first one to secure the deal. Like you said, you've actually had verbal contracts off the phone after you get off the seller, and then you get in the car and you go get it a written.
Well, those are like upfront agreements. I always like to get upfront agreements whenever I go out to see a seller. So essentially, all I mean by that is, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, if I drive all the way out there, are you willing to sign a contract with me today? And I'll tell you another thing. There's been a couple deals where, when you pick up the phone and when you're talking to a motivated seller, like they're just ready to go. They're just ready to sign. They want to get this thing out of their life. And in those cases, I'm like a little bit different attitude. It's like, okay. And I'm on the phone with them and say, the contract is in your inbox right now. You can see it right now. You just go click on your inbox and sign it. Like, I mean, because if you have a seller that's that motivated, then why not just send it over? I mean, we're going to talk about the kind of the strategy behind this and some of the ways that you can protect yourself, I guess, if you're using this strategy. But I just think it's uber important. I mean, it isn't like you have to, if it turns out that the deal is not what you thought it was, once you do finally get into your due diligence, then, there's you're going to have to back out of the deal. If it's just not a good deal, then if you can't structure something creative or something like that, then it's just not going to be a good deal, and you'll have to get out of that deal. But as they say, there are no risks in risk-free offers, and that's what we're doing. That's essentially what we're doing. We're making an offer formally with a contract. That is essentially, the contract is our contracts are written really well. No shadiness, by the way, just really well written contracts. And, of course, we're transparent with our sellers right up front. Like, hey, if this doesn't work out, I'll immediately, as soon as I figure this out, you'll be the first one to know. I will call you and tell you that whether or not this is going to work out. So yeah. Let's move on here.
What I like to quote. Let's toss the gem, the pro tip gem quote out of the day. He who controls the paper controls the deal. That's beautiful.
100%.
Controls the paper, controls the deal. So that's really the main reason. That, in a nutshell, is really the main reason why we want to get the property under contract. But what you said is important. So let's just get into that now. But Jeff, so I'm sitting here. So if this was Ken, let's see, 16 plus years ago, I'd be saying, oh, no, Jeff, no. That shit's not going to work for me. Like, I got to have eyeballs on the property. I've got to go in there and I've got to do my deal evaluation calculator, and I've got to do that. And it might take me 3 days to figure that out. So I'm not doing shit. No, that's not happening, man. Because if I put a contract in place, I'm going to buy it. Right. So how do you just mentioned it too. So let's just get into that. So how do you mitigate your risk? So I'll go with item 1, right? Use a contract that has good clauses in it, right? Exit clauses. I mean, obviously you can put inspection clauses in there. You can put, let's say it's a subject to deal, right? And you're talking to the seller, like you're talking to sell the phone, like, how much do you owe on it? What are your monthly payments? Is it in arrears? And you know what? Sometimes sellers don't give you all their information. So one of the clauses you put in there is that you need all that information, up to date, accurate information. And if those numbers aren't what you were told and you can't make the deal work, guess what? You're not going to uphold the contract because they didn't give you the right information, the accurate information. So
yeah, and you want to do that as quickly as you possibly can. That's not something that you in fact. Generally what I'll do is I'll get a property under contract in that same fashion or form, and I don't even open escrow. I immediately come back and I start doing my due diligence on that property.
Yep.
That includes, if it's a subject to deal, that includes getting a copy of the mortgage statement. Negotiating the contracts are they're certainly pertinent to this. How can I say that? Say it for me. Pertinent. Thank you to this conversation, because there is a definite, especially when it comes to stuff like subject to. There's a definite art form to negotiating those deals. But the objective, no matter what, if I'm leaving, if I'm walking out my door, my objective is to get a contract on the property. Period. And then, like I say, I don't even, generally speaking, if it's I generally don't even open escrow until I know for a fact that, okay, my numbers work. Of course, once you open escrow and you're going to get reports back through the title company about any possible liens or anything like that. Then you have an opportunity. You have this is essentially why, if we look at I don't even know what episode it was, but we had some episodes a while back. We talked about due diligence. We actually have two different phases of due diligence.
Right. Yep.
So what we'll do is we'll get a property under contract. We'll start what we call due diligence phase 1. And that's your basic stuff, like mortgage statements, seller provided information, running comps. Does this make sense? Are the numbers such that, depending on how you exit that deal, are the numbers going to be something that you can deal with, and something that you can create a deal out of? And if that's the case, then we're like, okay, we're all in at this point. Let's open escrow, and then we start what we call phase 2 of due diligence, and that gets really, really deep. I mean, that gets
as deep as you're comfortable with.
Yeah. I mean, our due diligence checklist is insanely deep. I mean, it's just
it's pretty comprehensive, I'd say.
Yeah. So
can I just note that, though, that a pro tip that you just said too, and I'm going to frame it as pro tip: don't open. So opening escrow is really as simple as giving the title company your purchase agreement. Mm-hmm. Okay. What we're really talking about, though, is don't deposit your earnest money until after you clear those first hurdles. So you can actually put in your contract, like, you're not going to deposit the earnest money until 7 days later. You could put in there you're not going to deposit the earnest money until you get title commitment back from the title company. How about that one? Yeah. Like, you can set that up however you want. So in other words, don't give anything out of your pocket until you're definitely willing to do so after your initial due diligence, right?
Yeah, you'll have sellers that are definitely going to give you some feedback on that. But and in that situation, a lot of times, you laugh at me when I say this, but a lot of times I'll say, here's 10 or $20. Worst case scenario, I spend the next 24 hours looking at this, analyzing this deal, and you just made $20. But if I go to escrow, I'm going to be depositing, what you would consider a normal amount of EMD. Yeah. Excuse me. All of a sudden I've got a.
Yeah, I know. I've been coughing here all of a sudden. So like the rain started pouring outside here.
That's what it is. It's what it is.
It's all coming down. That's
yep.
right.
So
pulling that all back together. So don't be afraid, right? The motto of the last few minutes is don't be afraid to get it under contract. Have your contract set up in such a way that it's not a problem for you to get out of it. And by the way, you can always renegotiate. Like, this is another thing too. You can always renegotiate and say, hey, I pulled this there. Did you know that you had a sewer lien of $1,500 against the house? So we're gonna have to take that off the price. Like, you can always renegotiate that. Like, some people are really kind of scared to renegotiate. So it's like, I got to stay by what I say. No, if your information changes or you get new information, you change the offer. The numbers are the numbers. The numbers have to dictate that. So if you have to change the numbers because you didn't have it before, you're told the wrong number, that's the way it is. Sellers understand that.
Yeah. See, the problem is that, yeah, the problem is that we have this kind of this social pressure where people think you have to follow these real strict guidelines about or you know keep up with the Joneses and how the Joneses are doing it and how it's just that's the best way I can describe it. It's just this social pressure of I have a contract. I want to get this property under contract. I got to do all this work, um, and then get a contract on it. What we're saying is go out and get a contract on it first. You can always renegotiate, but you cannot make money on a deal that you don't control. Control equals leverage.
Yep.
And once you're under contract, you can decide whether you want to move forward or you want to renegotiate that contract. It's that simple. There's nothing saying that you can't do that. And to your point, a well-written, a well-crafted contract that is transparent and honest is what you're going to lean on. That is going to be your I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. I'm drawing blanks today, man, for some reason. I think what it is I'm really emphatic about this, and I have a ton of things going on in my head that I want to spit out, but my mouth just doesn't move that fast. So, but the thing about this is, it's all about control. Just like when we talk about, marketing for sellers, we talk about seller leads. The person who has the leads is the person that controls the next steps in the process, which for us would be getting the property under contract. So the key word here, the most common denominator here is control. It's controlling every aspect of the deal. And I'll just say it again: you cannot make money on a deal that you don't control. So, so go ahead.
Well, let's just highlight too some of the clauses. So, some things you should have in your contract, and this is, I'm going to give shameless plug. We have specifically we have a sub 2 document package out there, which has our full contract versions in there and all the sub 2 documents in there. But our purchase agreement, whether it's sub 2 or whether it's not sub 2, our purchase agreement has a lot of these clauses in here. But you can protect yourself, right? Inspection contingencies, right? Those are obvious ones. A lot of times the seller says, well, this is an as-is deal. So maybe you need to be a little more creative with how you want to say that. But, inspection contingencies is an obvious one, right? What about financial review? Maybe you're going to get a fix and flip loan or whatever in there, and there's financial contingencies. Those are good ones in there. Maybe, you couldn't make the loan work, or the hard money people you're trying to get your fix and flip, right, are probably better at evaluating the deal than you are. And they say, no, this isn't going to work. Right. I mean, that really is a very good use of hard money. I mean, if you're willing to pay the expense for all of that. And also clear title, right? It has to be clear title, liens, subject to information, all that stuff you can put in there. And this one we don't even have in our contract, but I think this one's a gem too. Like a little sentence in there, or put in the special agreements, right in there, partner approval. So after you do your due diligence, so you can just say, hey, our ownership group didn't approve this when the numbers are too tight. But they did say we could, instead of 125, we do it at 115. Right? I mean, that's a great leverage. That's a great tactic to have in there too. So we don't. In fact, I might actually add that into the.
Well,
maybe put it as an example in the special agreements. Like, here's a good one to put in the clauses in there too. So
this is why I'm a big fan of creative financing, because I'm gonna double down here on this concept. Excuse me, because number one, creative financing, generally speaking, if we can get creative, our motto is think creative first. Anytime we're sitting in front of a seller, it's always think creative first. Now you're going to have, generally in many situations, we're going to be making multiple offers. right? So we'll have a cash offer, we'll have a creative offer, we'll have some sort of seller finance offer. But the creative stuff really allows us to, and I hate to say this because I hate paying more for something that I don't have to pay for, but if you can structure the terms in a way that where you can actually, where it actually benefits the seller more so than say a cash deal, and they're open to it, and they're open, they have an open mind, and they're open to these ideas. Creative financing is really the lever that you're going to use to really kind of take hold of the seller's imagination, versus say a cash deal, because everyone knows that these a lot of wholesalers and a lot of buyers, they're out here, they're trying to buy these properties for 60 to on average, I think 60 to at most 70% of the ARV. With seller financing, we can get much more creative with that. So if we're there first, if we get to that seller first, and we say, hey, we can pay you X amount, which is certainly probably going to be higher than what a wholesaler or a lot of other buyers.
Yeah.
That's going to set an anchor in that seller's mind, right? And that seller's going to go, well, wait a minute, this guy said I could make 200K versus 130 that this other guy offered. So it's a little bit of a psychological I don't want to say mind game, but you get what I'm saying.
Yep.
Also, when I said I was going to double down, I was being honest about that. Another thing you got to understand is that there's this period when a seller has decided that they are going to sign a contract, that they have to sell their property, like they need to get out of this thing. Their emotions are super, super high, and they are ready to sign a document. And we affectionately call this the honeymoon period, where, I mean, they're just ready to sign anything. They just, if you're talking to a super motivated seller, and you will know when you are, they are ready to move. They're ready to move on. Yep. And so if we can get that contract in front of them first, and we can stack on a creative option where they're going to get paid the most, I mean, you've just increased your chances tenfold of getting a good deal. And so, this is, so it just escalates, right? It's like there's benefit on top of benefit on top of benefit by getting to the seller first and getting that property under contract. If that means that you do it over the phone, then that's what it means. And it certainly has worked out for us that way. It's worked out pretty well. So,
and one other thing too, can I just toss in one other thing, just about the contract and the clause? So when you add clauses to your contract, you might be thinking to yourself, well, my real estate guru and coach said to keep the contract simple, like 1 or 2 pages or whatever like that. Like don't overcomplicate it. So that sounded good 20 plus years ago. But after 20 plus years, like almost 25, what is this, 2025? Yeah, almost 24 years. After 24 years of real estate investing, I can tell you that's shit. Mm-hmm. That is bullshit. Sellers expect the contract on an acquisition of a piece of real estate to be several pages long. Like they kind of have an innate understanding that it's going to take more than 1 page to get the details worked out. And oh, by the way, what happens when you sit down at the table with Mr. and Mrs. Seller and you go over the terms and you just say, here's this clause, here's what it means, here's why it's in there. That protects me. Oh, here's this clause, that protects you. Right? And just think about the rapport and the trust you just built by taking 30 minutes out of your life to go over your contract with the appropriate clauses in.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point too. And that is a lot of these folks. I can tell you, most of the people, particularly, and again, I have a habit of picking on wholesalers. So but a lot of them have no idea what is in their contract, because they've gone and, maybe they've gone to Office Depot and pulled up that contract, or they downloaded some contract off of the internet. People, you have to know what is in your contract. It's like it's the most basic tool of the trade, and you need to understand. You need to read it thoroughly all the way through, and you need to understand what each individual section is. It makes you look like it's instant credibility. If you can talk about your contract with some intelligence and a true understanding of what's going on inside it and how it how it may benefit your seller or benefit you, that is just instant credibility right off the bat. I mean, virtually all I'm not promise I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I can look at the section of our contract, and I can tell them, I can basically summarize what's in that. It's almost like we just did a closing yesterday on a rental property that my wife sold, and it was so nice to go into the title company and because my wife's she's not real into real estate. Like she needs a lot of things explained to her. I mean, this is not her gig, right? So going into the title company, it was so nice to sit down and have a really learned individual just go through all of this paperwork and tell her basically what it was. And of course I'm there. I've been through 100, 150 of these things, whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what she knows, exactly what she's talking about. So, yeah, anyway, I guess my point is do your research, do the work, understand what's in your contract, and speak intelligently about it. It'll be instant credibility for you.
Yeah, and don't get your free contract download from the YouTube influencer guy that says, "Here's my free contract."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sweet Jesus, oh, yeah. Right. There's a difference between people actually doing deals in the real world like we do, and people taking stuff from other people, repackaging it, and trying to make a buck on it.
Yeah.
And not actually doing deals. So you have to be careful on that. And those people give all of us a bad name, by the way, right? Going in there, right? And probably laws and regulations that shouldn't be in there because of these people that don't actually know how to do a deal, even though they have a contract they're giving you for free. So,
yeah. All right. So
just shake my head. So let's move on to there's a difference. So what you want to do is you want to make, right, get it under contract with a solid contract that you understand and can explain to the seller, right, with the clauses, with the appropriate exit clauses that meet your comfort level, right? But don't, right, so let's take a step back too. But don't make reckless offers. Like even in writing, don't make reckless offers. Like you have to know, you have to know your area and you have to know the property. So for instance, right, like Florissant is a suburb here in St. Louis. You're a Florissant guru. Like I can give you any street, right? I can just say, hey, I saw this property on X street. Like, is it worth it? And you tell me within 3 seconds whether it's shit or not. Right? Oh yeah, that's good. That's not good. That's good. Right? So you have to know your area, right? In order to do this successfully, right? Not only do you need to know your contract, you need to know your market, right? Let's not overlook that so that you can make reasonable offers, and then you only have to tweak things, hopefully, right? I mean, that's the goal, right? So that you can make good offers and not be off by 10, 15, 20% in your offers.
Right. Yeah. In this kind of, we're in a different world now in this business. We have remote, tons and tons and tons of remote wholesalers out there that, I see these deals come across, quote, I use the term deals lightly. But I see some of these deals come across and they just don't a lot of them just don't understand, particularly the way St. Louis is just, we can be, as I like to say, we're very street to street. If you're talking city properties in St. Louis, it's very, very street to street. You never know what you're going to get. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that are really being unfortunately, a lot of contracts being canceled and things like that. I mean, it's for that reason too, is because they can't see these properties. They don't have a good understanding of the market at all. So, but yeah, you're on point with, stop making terrible offers.
Yeah. Don't be reckless with your offers.
Don't be reckless. That's a good way to put it. Now,
be strategic, right? Know enough to be strategic in your offers, right?
Yeah, you might say that me just putting a contract on a property is reckless. You might say that, but I think as long as you are upfront with the seller about this, that I can't. Basically, what I tell my sellers is I can't really do anything without a contract. I can't put time and effort and energy into this thing. If I come out there again, with my upfront offer, my upfront agreement rather, if I come out there and I can present you with an offer that sounds acceptable, understanding that we may have to renegotiate that later, will you sign a contract with me today? And that's kind of a way of saying, hey, I'm not certain exactly where this is going to go. There's a lot of work that needs to be done here to make sure that this is going to be beneficial for both of us. But I promise you, if we can get through it, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and we can make this work if you'll work with me. And a lot of people are really understanding of that. They, at least in my experience, of course, I definitely have run across some folks. By the way, what I'm about to tell you happens mostly with other investors. Remember when you just said here a few minutes ago that people are going to download or getting a contract from their guru. It's like a one-page contract and all that. Yeah. There have been people in the past that have refused my contracts, and they wanted those super simple one-pagers. And I love the way that you put it. You said something to the effect of, those things protect nobody from nothing.
Yes.
Exactly not your sellers, not yourself. I mean, it's really, and I agree with that. And by the way, there have been deals done, thousands and thousands of deals done with those one-page contracts, but it's only going to take one negative or one adverse, situation. And that contract, you're right, it's not going to help anyone, period. So, so don't make reckless offers. When you go in, best practice is going to be to know what they call your buy box, understanding what your buy box is.
Yeah.
And this is another reason why I say it's, if you don't have, or I advise people that if you don't have a handful of exit strategies that you can fit these deals into, it's time to start learning. It's time to start learning different exit strategies. If your exit strategy is solely wholesaling, I hate to tell you this, but it at some point the well is going to dry up. I mean, you might get some rain and get some more water in that well a couple months down the road, but at some point, I mean, it's just.
Well, I can pee on your head and call it rain. If need be, right? But you're right. You got to have more. You got to have more potential income streams for your real estate business than just and there are a lot of successful wholesalers. Don't get us wrong, but we just think that it's better to diversify your real estate strategy, add tools in your toolbox so that you can do different things when the situation arises and calls for it.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, understanding what your buy box is. We use our calculator, particularly if it's a subject. Now, our calculator is geared towards subject to deals, creative finance deals, but we can certainly plug in other deals. We have ways of kind of finessing that calculator. Yeah. So, have a calculator built for yourself, or go download our calculator. It's out on the websites for free. Have a calculator built that you can quickly assess these deals. so that you're not dragging this seller along with all this with this indecisiveness on whether or not this is going to be a good deal for you. And again, we're going to touch on understanding your contracts. It's very, very important to understand what is in your contracts. I will tell you the primary contract that we use has been built over years. It took I don't know, probably 6 years to get it to its final version, what it is right now. And I started off with a basic contract, and then over the years, I just had it revised. I've had that contract looked at through with attorneys, and then some of the details and some of the provisions of that contract I've actually added myself, and that's all based on experience. That's really what it is, and so I mean. I would love to advise people on where to actually, other than our sub 2 documents package, because we actually include that. Don't we include that in our documents package?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have the full bullet. We actually use at times too. We use I call it the shorter version of it, but it doesn't have all the sub 2 clauses in there.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. You're the contracts guru, so.
But we don't have a standalone contract that we give away, because as you said, we used to. By the way, we used to give away a short version of it, but then we was like, no, because I mean, it's cost us a lot of money over the years to develop the contracts here, and we don't. We just choose not to give it away for free. So,
yeah, I think the biggest piece of this puzzle, and we've talked about mindset the last couple of weeks, but the biggest piece of this puzzle is rapport. The biggest piece to this is building rapport so that you're somewhat likable. Maybe you're an old curmudgeon or something, but building rapport is extremely important, and really that just comes with practice. I mean, and this is literally one of the things that I will say, or very close to it. I'm kind of summarizing this, but I will ask whenever I do arrive at a property and get ready to sign with this property, I will tell the seller, like, hey, we are, like I said before, I can't do anything without a contract, so we're going to go ahead and put this under contract. We're going to get the ball rolling, and then after that, we're going to start we're going to do a quick due diligence on it. I will let you know within 24 hours if I'm ready to move forward with this or renegotiate. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. No harm, no foul. You can keep your whatever cash I happen to have in my pocket at that time. No big deal. No big deal. And we'll move on. But if I do verify everything we talked about and everything is accurate and true, then we're going to move to the next step, and I will close on this. So
there you have it. It's that well, not simple, but it's just that straightforward, right? Using straightforward language, just like that, and there you have it.
Yeah, and that's just like I said, that's getting your 10,000 hours in. That's just trying to I think I told this story a couple of weeks ago, but I would sit and pace these floors. I would just pace my floor. I have carpet in my basement, and I would pace these floors, just wearing that carpet out, trying to figure out this entire conversation in my head prior to actually picking up the phone, and making that phone call. And it never, not one single time did that conversation go the way that I pictured it in my head. It was always something else. So what I'm trying to say is you can do that. If that's a strategy for you, that's fine. But just understand you're going to have to ad lib, much like we're doing on this live call. Like we don't, we have talking points, what have you, but most of what we say here is just, that's why I repeat myself, or I stutter, just because everything's kind of off the cuff. You just eventually just get used to it. And and things just come to you naturally. And it's no different when you're talking to a seller. So,
and maybe we could just summarize this better. I was telling you that on our coaching call yesterday, right? One of our students or partners in the program basically just said, he's like, well, I mean, you guys tell us just go get it under contract. So I went and got it under contract.
Yep.
Right.
And
Going out there to look at it at a later date, it's under contract.
Yep.
It's exactly right.
Yeah. I think he actually went out. I'm not sure when he went out. Was it supposed to be today that he goes out?
Yeah, I think it was coming. Yeah, it was either. I think it's today. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, but the interesting thing was he knew, like I talked about a little bit earlier in this podcast, he knew exactly the type of seller he was dealing with. He knew that, like, okay, I picked up the phone and this lady wants to give me her house, basically. She's got to move. She's on a timeline, and so he just sent over and had it signed electronically. Just sent over a contract. I mean, no harm, no foul. They set up a time for him to come walk the property and meet, and she's happy with it. She's totally fine with it. And this happens more times than not. If you are straight, upfront, transparent, honest, it's not a problem. So all of the naysayers and all the people that really kind of look down on this strategy, I'm sorry, but I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong on this.
They just need to change how they're going about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Their approach to it, I think, just needs to change because, I mean, obviously, we do it pretty successfully. Our students do it successfully. So we have merit in what we're saying. We're not just making it up out of the blue.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I don't really think we need to beat this horse anymore, do we?
No, I think there's we'll leave it like this. If you wait to be perfect, you'll never do anything and take action.
That's true. That is true.
We'll get it under contract and see what happens, man.
That's right. All right, guys. Well, until next time, we will catch you this time next week, 11 o'clock Central, next Friday. We will see you then.